Hello Astro subscribers, and welcome back to another video of the Lunar Mansion Nakshatra series. So today we're going to be talking about the lunar mansion of Purva, or the Nakshatra of Purva, which runs from 13 1/3 degrees Sagittarius to 26.4 or 26 2/3 degrees Sagittarius. So what is a nakshatra? If this is your first video you've seen on the topic, a nakshatra is a concept in astrology, particularly Vedic astrology. The Western equivalent is the lunar mansion system, which is basically the same thing, and it is it's a system of 27 signs that run behind the scenes in the traditional 12 signs of astrology, which are like Aries through Pisces. And then you've got in the background these nakshatras providing a separate lens to see the system through. So how are these things calculated? Like, what is there? Like, a sign is roughly a solar month. So how are the nakshatras calculated? Well, the reason they're called lunar mansions is because they are basically the distance that the moon moves in one solar day. So the moon moves 13 1/3 degrees throughout the ecliptic in the span of one solar day, 24-hour period, more or less, and that is why these are the 27 nakshatras. From the astrological perspective, they each have a co-ruler, just like the sign of Scorpio or Pisces or Aquarius have co-rulers, and they provide extra perspective as to how a person with planets in these placements are going to act. So, a common question I hear is like, oh, well, if you have two people who are, let's say, Sagittariuses, why would they think separately? Like, why would they think differently? Well, it's because there's a lot more variables than just your sign. You have to look at, okay, what planet's in Sagittarius? What is the house that the Sagittarius falls in? What is the house that these planets fall in? What nakshatra is it? There's even more variables than that, but these are the ones I'm going to start covering first. The reason I do nakshatras is because they're very sort of overlooked. And also it's a division into systems of this mode of thinking that many people might not have heard of. So I'm trying to bring awareness to it because it's interesting and also very helpful for categorizing people and predicting what people are going to do. So, this being said, the nakshatra of Purva running from 13.2, which is 13 1/3 degrees Sagittarius, to 26.4 or 26 2/3 degrees Sagittarius. The ruling entity of Sagittarius is a sign about teaching, learning, studying, researching, and preaching. So it doesn't matter what the belief system is necessarily. It is a proponent of one belief system at a time. Its opposite is Gemini. So Gemini is a student, effectively a curious kid who wants to learn everything about everything and doesn't really stick to any one thing for too long, generally speaking. Now, Sagittarius is the opposite of that. Sagittarius is a dedicated proponent, teacher, pusher of an ideology. Now, whether that ideology is religious, scientific, whether they're an atheist, whether like Richard Dawkins preaching about atheism, or whether they're like, what's that guy's name? Joel Osteen preaching about Christianity, or whether they're an Islamic scholar, it doesn't really matter. They sort of adopt and fixate on one particular ideology and then act as a proponent of that, and they're a lot more resistant to change than Gemini is, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. You can't really say that it's all bad to be resistant to change, just like you can't say it's all bad to change all the time or anything like that. It's more nuanced than that. You need both of these people. You need a dialogue between them, because Gemini will never stick to any one idea, and Sagittarius can be too rigid in their dogmatic approach. Sagittarius' symbol is an archer. It's also a cross between a man and a horse, a centaur. It's a centaur archer. So basically, this is where you get the expression from the horse's mouth, basically from the teacher, from the preacher. The symbolism of the arrow is truth. So true is an archery term, meaning to hit the target. It's, a bullseye effectively, and the opposite of true is a sin, which is to miss the bullseye. These were archery terms before they were ever used in philosophy. The arrow being shot, the projectile being fired is generally speaking, a metaphor for truth, because you're trying to hit a particular target with your words. You're trying to preach correctly, hit the target of abstract reality with your words. That's what this represents. So that's Sagittarius. Now what about Purva Ashada? So Purva Ashada's co-ruler is Venus, and basically Venus is pleasure, it is relationships, it is negotiations, it is how you deal with people to get the things you want. This is basically what Venus is. Venus also has a spiritual side, but it doesn't really tend to come out unless Venus is in like water signs. Venus is also love, but usually only when it's in water signs or water houses, which are 4, 8, 12, or Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Generally speaking, though, Venus is materialism, and it kind of has a negative connotation because it can be very materialistic, but on the same end of the spectrum, you need materials to survive, so it's not that bad of it's a necessary planet, even though it can be a little bit selfish. It has a tendency to be amoral, but that's just because it's trying to get by and get food to eat, so it actually kind of makes sense. This being said, what happens when you combine the energies of Venus and the energies of Jupiter in this nakshatra? What you basically get is kind of like a cheerleader. It's a person who's very enthusiastic. These people are often quite beautiful, but they're not just a pretty face. They have the ability to sort of use their charm and their ability to negotiate and have these sort of pleasing conversations with people where they're very like charismatic and get what they want. They have the ability to use that to inspire people in the direction of an ideology and make it feel like it's that person's own choice. These are people who attract people who want to help them everywhere. And it's not like they're helpless. They just have this tendency to gather large groups of people around them and to be able to make these really positive, make other people feel good in their presence and create these really positive like group interactions where everybody's like moving in one direction and they're sort of rallied around this person who is like a very charismatic, very happy leader that other people are happy to follow because of just how they make them feel. So basically it's a motivator, it's an enthusiastic person. Now obviously it depends on the house. Now, if like this is in a Mars house or something, these people might be overly manipulative. Like if it's in Scorpio or something, they might be very sort of subversive and manipulative. But you have to look at all the different aspects. You also have to look at the planet involved in this particular nakshatra. So for instance, like if like a malefic is here, like Saturn, that can be pretty good because these people will use their charm in a very purposeful manner. On the off chance that Rahu or the north node of the moon is here, these people can be very powerful, but that power with speech can get them into trouble. They might use this ability to influence large groups for and inspire people for selfish reasons and then get in trouble. And if, like let's say South Node is here, this person might feel very detached from their natural inborn ability to inspire and, motivate large crowds of people. But basically, yeah, this is like the archetype of the cheerleader. It's the archetype of the motivating speaker. It's the archetype of the just person that people are happy to listen to and happy to follow, the leader that people are happy to follow because they're inspiring. So yeah, that's my analysis of Purva Ashada.